Welcome to The Explainer. So today we're diving into a genuinely fascinating paradox right at the heart of modern artificial intelligence. It's this bizarre mystery that's literally got researchers scratching their heads. And honestly, it kind of forces us to completely rethink what AI is actually capable of doing. I mean, think about this. How is it that a massive supercomputer, trained on basically the sum of all human knowledge, can breeze through the bar exam, write incredibly beautiful poetry, or code complex software, but then completely crash and burn on a basic copy and paste task? Seriously, if you ask an advanced AI to just exactly repeat a long string of random text, it fundamentally breaks down. But why?
It's actually kind of absurd when you really think about it. We've always expected computers to be absolutely flawless at simple repetition, right? Writing a complex creative novel? Well, that feels like it should require boundless intelligence. But exactly copying a long string of random text, that should be perfectly trivial. But for transformer models, the architecture powering basically all modern large language models, the exact opposite is true. So we're going to treat this like a real crime scene today. To solve the mystery of the uncopyable text, we need to look really closely at the evidence.
Okay, let's dive into this with Section 1, the investigation inside the embedding space. To figure out why AI fails so hard at just copying text, we have to conceptually shrink ourselves down and step directly into the AI's brain. It's a place researchers call the embedding space. Now, don't let that term intimidate you. Forget about abstract, floating math for a second. I want you to picture it as a physical, bounded room. It has actual walls. It has a specific finite volume. Inside this massive, multidimensional room, the AI maps, groups, and stores every single possible word, sequence, and concept it could ever generate. Literally every output it can produce has to fit somewhere inside this finite room.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how that finite room is actually organized. Look at these colorful little territories. The AI literally carves up its embedding space into specific regions. Researchers call them Voronoi cells. Each of those color-coded zones corresponds to the most probable next word. You can see one little room mapped out for the word jumps, another for WW, another for just a comma. Every single time the AI generates a word, it's basically throwing a dart and landing it in one of these specific colored zones.
And as the AI is reading a prompt and generating its response, it's physically navigating this space. You can see the specific text sequences represented here as those little red dots, falling perfectly into their exact token regions. To spit out a specific sequence of text, the AI literally has to pack its mathematical representations into these finite, colorful zones. If it can find a unique, distinct spot for a sequence, then that sequence is considered accessible. If it can't, well, the sequence just cannot be generated, period.
Which brings us to Section 2, the twist, the finite precision problem.
Here's the crazy twist. The reason the AI fails to copy long text isn't some weird software bug. It's not a lack of training data either. It is a fundamental mathematical law of physics for artificial intelligence. And the real culprit? It's hidden right here in the number 11. Specifically, 11 bits of precision. You see, to make these massive models fast and efficient enough to use, they generally run on half-precision floating-point arithmetic. They're only using 11 bits of precision for their numbers, and because the computer's memory isn't infinite, it is constantly forced to round off decimals. That rounding, that is everything. Because the computer rounds numbers, the AI's vision inside that multidimensional room gets super blurry. It's kind of like packing items into a closet. If you pack a few big boxes in there, it's super easy to tell them apart. But if you try to cram a billion tiny, complex sequences into this finite room, they start to overlap. Because the AI is constantly rounding those numbers, sequences that are packed too close together just blur into one another. They become completely indistinguishable to the AI and therefore totally inaccessible.
Based on this blurry math, the researchers actually proved 3 immutable laws of AI limits. First, the maximum length of an accessible sequence grows linearly with the prompt length. Second, and this is wild, once you pass a certain critical threshold of length, the accessibility doesn't just slowly drop off, it decays exponentially. Almost all sequences become literally impossible to generate. And third, this theoretical upper bound is a strict mathematical reality. It applies to all transformers, everywhere, no exceptions.
Let's move on to Section 3, the evidence, falling off the cliff.
So, now that we've got the theory down, let's look at the hard data from the crime scene. This is the smoking gun. And this brilliantly illustrates the reality we're talking about. The left side shows the cramming task, and the right side tracks copying accuracy across different models. Notice how those lines behave. They don't just slope gently downwards. No,
They stay up near 100% for a bit, and then they dramatically plunge. That is that exponential decay happening right in front of us.
Looking closer at the exact match copying accuracy here, you can clearly see the cliff I'm talking about. These models just hum along perfectly on short strings, right? But as the length of the string increases, they inevitably slam into a mathematical wall. The overlapping, blurry sequences in the embedding space completely overwhelm the system, and their accuracy just plummets right off a cliff down to absolute zero.
So the crucial point here is that this failure is a hard physical structural limit. No amount of extra computation time, no massive increase in the context window size, and literally no amount of specialized training data can ever fix this. A model that hits your 100% accuracy on short strings is mathematically guaranteed to hit 0% right beyond its threshold. There's just simply no more physical room in the embedding space to tell the sequences apart.
Finally, Section 4, the verdict, bounded by math. Okay, let's pull ourselves out of the AI's brain for a second and see how this builds our final understanding chronologically. Step 1. The AI carves out a finite, bounded room for everything it knows. Step 2. Because it has to use finite precision, it's forced to round numbers, blurring the exact coordinates of long, complex sequences until they just overlap. And Step 3. Entirely unable to tell these blurry sequences apart, the AI falls right off the accuracy cliff, making exact copying mathematically impossible.
Which leaves us with this absolutely incredible quote from the researchers. The embedding space carries meaningful information about its capabilities. We so often think of AI as this boundless, limitless magic. But the reality is actually far more interesting. AI is a physical system. It is governed by strict, measurable mathematical limits. It has a shape, it has boundaries, and it has a finite capacity. Understanding those boundaries isn't just about solving some quirky mystery, it's absolutely crucial to knowing the true nature of the machines we are building. Because if a supercomputer, trained on all of human knowledge, fundamentally cannot perform a simple copy-paste, what other, hidden, immutable boundaries might be lurking inside the AI we rely on every single day?